Hi, everybody. So I am here with Debbie. So Debbie's a client who just graduated last week, and she's just had some incredible success, huge transformations, and just mind blowing. So I asked her to come on here and kind of share her story and what she saw happen for her in the program because it's just so good, and I just really wanted her to share it with all of you guys. So first off, hello Debbie, how are you doing, love?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Okay, so can you just kind of start off by giving everybody just kind of a little bit of a snapshot of like what was your life like before mindful eating, before you did the program and started working with me?
Sure. Just to run through really quickly, I know I like how you posted on your Facebook page asking people to like list everything that they've tried and failed. And I posted pretty much everything that you could imagine. I've tried Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, keto about 4 times, and it worked for a while until I didn't do it anymore. And then I gained all the weight back like every single time. I did appetite suppressants. I did things that I found on Groupon where you could get vitamin B12 shots and like supplements that didn't work. And I had my Fitness Pal. I did calorie counting. I scanned the barcodes of everything I ate. Um, and I just always thought that was the only way to do it. And I haven't really struggled with food until I hit college. And then just, I think having more options available to me was kind of a downfall. And I never really saw myself as being an emotional eater or using food to cope until I tried this program. And then I realized like what my issues were. Because I remember saying to Don in the beginning, how do I know what emotions are triggering me to eat? And then, she definitely walked me through that, and it was pretty eye-opening. But anyway, before this, I think my entire life revolved around food in some way. Even if I wasn't always thinking about food, I was always subconsciously beating myself up because I gave into a craving. Or even my time at work, I would do all sorts of things to go out of my way to try to find food or to try to avoid food, one of those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just basically consume all of my thoughts. And I didn't look forward to going to parties or social events where I knew there'd be a lot of food. I would feel guilty for making myself pasta, even though pasta is my favorite thing in the world. I'd feel guilty for eating it. And I couldn't truly enjoy really good food because I was all thinking about how I was somehow damaging myself because I was eating a carb, or I was probably going over 1,200 calories for the day, or just, it's no way to live. And I didn't realize that I thought that was the only way to live, but it wasn't working. It just wasn't working. And no one should ever do that to themselves,
Right. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. No. And it's just staggering how many people do, and how many
Right.
people stay in that. It's really, really sad. So what
Yeah.
was kind of the moment that made you think like this has to change? Like what was the thing that made you, decide like, okay, we're doing this? What was that moment?
Um, I've noticed in recent months before starting the program that I didn't enjoy leaving the house anymore. I didn't put any effort into my appearance when I would go out because I would just feel like I don't really deserve to be seen in public anyway. Every time I saw a picture of myself, I'd just be disgusted that, I can't believe I got to this point. And I have a 2-year-old son, and I just thought about what it would be like to try to navigate the the social world of being a mom. And I just thought I can't be in this mindset where I don't want to be social with people. Like I need to fix this. And I knew that it was going to take a lot of mindset work because I'm very familiar with mindfulness, and I had been introduced to the mindful eating concept. And I thought that that's the sort of thing that I think is going to open up a lot of doors for me and not only fix the food problem, but also my mindset problem too, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think as you've learned through this process, like mindset is 90% of the work, is getting that mindset
Right.
unlocked. So
Yeah.
flash forward, 4 months to now, and you're just like, seriously, you're like an entirely different person than when we first started working together. So looking back on the last, 16 weeks of us working together, what has been like your biggest accomplishments, those biggest goals that you did, those things that you did that just like you were like, oh my God, am I actually even doing this right now? Like, this is so cool. What were some of those moments for you?
I think the biggest one was a completely unexpected, unintended outcome that I didn't even have in mind going into this. It wasn't something that I thought I wanted to see happen, but it did anyway. So I had mentioned to you maybe about halfway through the program that I was struggling with the cravings that I get when I drink alcohol. And I used to have a drink every night. Not sometimes just a glass of wine, but maybe half the time I would have like a hard drink that would have a little bit more calories and also have more of an effect on my desire to eat. And um, that had been a contributor to my eating problem, I think, because that's just I know I've had a good dinner and I know that I have no reason to be hungry, and then all of a sudden I drink alcohol and all of a sudden I'm ravenous, and so I knew that that was a problem that I needed to fix. I didn't necessarily think it was an alcohol problem, but it was definitely creating more of an issue, and so we did a lot of work into thinking about why I wanted to drink every night. And it obviously it's a whole big thing that I'm not going to get into here, but I stumbled upon a few things and made a few changes, and all of a sudden, like I had our last call or the call before, I mentioned to you, I was like, I don't drink every night anymore, and in fact, in the last 2 weeks, I think I've maybe had 2 drinks, and I have, a half a bottle of bourbon in my freezer, which is one of my favorite drinks, it's been a half a bottle for the past 2 weeks. I haven't touched it. I haven't wanted to. In fact, the last time I had a glass, I took a couple sips and realized it didn't really taste that good.
Mm.
I have wine that I just haven't opened because I just haven't really felt like it. And I think I never thought, because for years I've just always had a drink before I go to bed. And that's something I didn't expect or anticipate was going to change. And I think that's huge. I think that's going to help because I've found other ways to like wind down and relax and finish my day.
Right.
So that's one of the huge things. I think another thing was, there's so many different things, but
You
just
had a
knowing that, yeah, I think another big thing was that I no longer have the the life altering guilt if I have a bad day and I eat too much. I can remind myself that this day is not going to ruin me. I didn't gain 5 pounds from this day, even though I might feel like it. And that was my big kind of moment last week when I realized after I had a day where I ate too much and I felt really bloated and really uncomfortable, and it felt like I gained 5 pounds. Whereas before I would take that feeling and think, well, I failed again, I screwed up again, I'm a failure. But all I did this time was I readjusted and I followed the clues on what to do if you overeat. And the next day, I followed my body signals and I stuck with, a lot of water and fiber and some really like good nutritious food. I didn't undereat by any means. I didn't deprive myself, but I just kind of shifted the way I ate. And the day after that, I felt completely better and I didn't feel bloated and disgusting anymore. And I realized that it's just every time you feel that way, it's just temporary. There is no way you can completely derail yourself with one day of bad eating, if you will.
Right. And I think a big, just to kind of comment on that of like what happened that day, I think it was such a big realization for you of like, okay, this wasn't me. I wasn't a failure. A trigger got flipped that we hadn't dealt with yet.
Right.
So just, okay, slightly uncharted territory, but you pulled yourself out so quick. Like before, you might have spent, 3-4 days in that place, and it lasted like a day.
Yeah, just a day.
And then you popped yourself right out. and moved on. So that's a really big deal. And that's something, you know, I think people really need to understand is like, guys, triggers are going to be there. Like you can't get rid of them. Your car is going to break down. Your parents are going to get sick. You know, something unexpected is going to happen. Your kids, something's going to happen with your kids. Like stress happens. You know, this stuff comes out of the blue and just whacks us upside the head like a Mack truck. And so it's like that kind of stuff happens, but how we respond to it, that's a choice. And I love that you've really started internalizing that and like responding differently in ways that don't turn to food and pulling yourself out of that emotional cycle like so quick instead of letting it, you know, take you down the river and, you know, now you just feel completely lost. So I love that how the story of like how quickly you popped out of that. Like that was the victory. Like you're freaking rock star right here, guys. Freaking rock star right here. Insane. Mm-hmm. And another story that I would love for you to is like what happened with the ice cream. Are you open to telling that story?
Yes, definitely. So I remember back in the beginning when my first call with you, you had mentioned to me that you had a client that I can't remember the exact details of the story, but for some reason I guess she had a cake in her fridge that she forgot about. Mm-hmm. And so she ended up throwing it away. And I remember thinking, that's crazy. A cake wouldn't last that long in my fridge. It would be gone like in a day. Because if it's there, like my biggest problem was if food in front of me, I'm going to eat it, like no matter what. I'm going to eat it. Especially cake, like cake, cupcakes, ice cream. Those are all things that are just like, don't stand a chance. Right. Anyway, I don't remember which module it was, but one of the homework assignments in one of the modules was to get something that I considered a forbidden food because it would be gone in 5 seconds, typically. Get something, make it available to me, have it nearby, and only eat it if I really, 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 really wanted it. So the 4 reallys. So I bought a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, the fish food flavor, which is my favorite, and then I would always eat the entire pint. I kept it. It stayed in my freezer for about 4 or 5 days. Then one day I decided I really, 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 really wanted it. Only ate maybe half of, just maybe a little bit off the top, a few bites, put it back in the freezer. It took a while for the whole thing to go away. So that was really awesome. But then fast forward a couple weeks after that, I was watching my favorite TV show and wanted to eat ice cream because I thought, well, I always eat comfort food when I watch this show. And when I was telling you the story, I was, this accomplishment was kind of buried in the story because I was trying to ask you if it was considered acceptable to have comfort food, even if I'm not really hungry, like it's a comfort food thing. Like I always eat ice cream when I watch this show. What do you think about that? And as I was telling you the story, I happened to mention that I only ate a few bites and then it sat there and got goopy and melty and I decided it wasn't good anymore, so I threw the rest away. And you're like, wait a minute, you did what? I was like, I threw the ice cream away. And then you reminded me that was something that you told me would happen. And I was like, I didn't even realize, like it was just completely not something that I did with intention, like, oh my God, I'm throwing it away. I can't do it. No, I just threw it away because I didn't want the rest of it anymore. Yeah. I would have never done that before.
Freaking rock star. Oh my God. Yeah. It's every time somebody gets to that moment, I just lose my mind with excitement. Cause it's like, I remember like the first time I told you that story about the cake, I remember very clear. You were like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You're like that. No, that's never going to happen. And then fast forward just like 3.5 months, just like fast forward like 12, 13 weeks and boom, there you are throwing away ice cream.
Yeah.
Game changer. Freaking game changer. So proud of you, dude. So proud of you. So, so now that, you know, you have this whole new outlook on yourself and food and your relationship to it and just life in general, you know, and that weight of that constant obsession with food and that constant stress and, you know, turning to food to just cope with life and all of that. So now that all of that has lifted and this whole new world is opened up to you, what are you most excited about?
Having more time to think about more important things. Like one big thing that's come up that I don't even think we've talked about in our calls, but I've noticed that I focus more attention on is self-care. And it goes back to what I said in the beginning, where I was realizing that I wasn't putting any care or thought or effort into myself and didn't even want to leave the house, felt like just a slob all the time. And now that I'm not constantly thinking about how to, how to either find food that I'm craving or how to avoid food, like that took up a lot of time and energy. The calorie tracking, I deleted all the apps. Like I haven't counted a calorie. I haven't weighed myself since the beginning. I have no idea. I've been to the doctor 3 times, and each time I've said, I'm closing my eyes. You can write down whatever you want, but just don't say it out loud. I don't care. And I haven't cared. And I just feel more free. And with that extra energy, like I've actually found more ways to, like I'm reading books that I've had on my shelf that I wanted to read, but I just have been putting it off for whatever reason. I have an appointment for a haircut next week that I'm really excited about. I'm like getting all sorts of plans to try different workouts and get back into running, and just like I'm thinking about all these things that I'm going to do for myself because it makes me feel good, and not worry so much about, I don't feel good, but I'm going to, I'm not going to put any effort into feeling better about myself because I don't deserve to. I think that was the biggest key for me, was feeling like I deserved to take care of myself. I think in the beginning, one of my biggest fears and my biggest roadblocks was, am I worth all of this? And I was really emotional about it in my reflections. And now I'm like, well, yeah, I'm absolutely worth all of this.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to do things for myself and live for myself.
I love that. Yeah, your life, you're experiencing what, I tell everybody of, it's like when you let this go, that diet mentality, your life just explodes, and just life gets so much bigger and more beautiful and juicy and delicious. And it's a whole different way to live. It's completely different. So at this point, because, so many people, so many women who are going to be watching this, have done diet after diet after diet. You've done it. I've done it. We've all been there. Okay. We've all done a million diets. All right. So let's just get that out on the table. Mm-hmm. And we've all done the diets and gained the weight back. And then we have to do it again. And then we gain it back. And then we do it again. And we gain it back. And we just go around and round and round and round. So at this point, do you feel like you will ever go back to dieting again? And if,
why would I? I mean, it's I'll never forget, like, the worst experience I ever had with a diet was, there was like a coach that I was working with, and I saw the coach once a week for like 20 minutes, and they would go through the food program and the very strict, like, foods that I couldn't eat, and then she would sell me all the bars and crap from that I could only eat from their food, and then she would send me to the nurse to give me my supplement, my appetite suppressant. And then I would sit with her and I would say, I just want to have Greek yogurt for breakfast. Greek yogurt has more protein and less sugar and less carbs than the bars that you're selling me. Why can't I just have Greek yogurt? And she said, because it's not on the program. And I was like, this makes no sense. But that's what all diets are. They're just like, you have to follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules, then you have nobody to blame but yourself if you don't lose the weight.
Right.
So that's not, it's just not fair to do that to people. It's not. And so I could never go back to do anything like that again. And the tools that you've given me are so easy to just pull up and just go through the steps. And they're all right there summarized for me. I don't have to like go read the whole book again. I don't have to, watch all the videos again, even though they're there, which is great, to pull up if I need a refresher in one area. But like the tools are all there summarized. And all I have to do is just go back and do a hunger and fullness scale and a mind, body, heart scan. And there's no reason, there's no excuse to say, oh, I don't have time to do that. It's not, it doesn't take any time. It just takes a little bit of work and a little bit of, reinforcement of what I've spent 4 months learning.
Right.
It's like riding a bike.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is it's like dieting gets harder and harder and harder. The longer you do it, the harder it is to stay on the diet. Mindful eating gets easier and easier and easier. Like before, it's because this is how you were born to eat. And I think you're really to that point where you're realizing like, this is intuitive. Like my body knows how to do this. Like this is not that difficult once it really starts sinking in. And that's why like client after client after client says like, I can't go back. Like you can't go back to dieting after this. Like once you know the tools and you understand your process and oh, there's a trigger. That was a mindless moment. Like once you learn how to map yourself, you can't go back into that little box. It's just, you can't.
Right. You can't.
Really can't. So this really is like, this is a lifelong transformation. It really is. So on that note, like if, I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you here for a second. Like, there's a lot of women who are going to be watching this who, are struggling right now with the same things you were struggling with, 4 months ago and for the last couple of years. So, what would you like to say to those women who are in that place?
It's a terrible place to be, to feel like food is in control over you. But once you realize that it's not, and you're actually the one that's in charge, you just have to realize that you are worth the time and the effort it takes to work through this. And like you said, the changes are lifelong. It's not a quick fix. You definitely have to be patient. There's going to be times where for lack of a better word, there's going to be times when you slip and forget the mindful tools that you learn, but then you just go right back and you don't beat yourself up about it. You just move forward and say, okay, I had a mindless moment, but I caught it. I realized what I did, and I'm going to go back and figure out ways to, do better next time. And there's the best thing about it was that every time I would tell you a story that I would be a little hesitant to tell you, like, oh, I ate McDonald's for lunch. You're like, how are the fries? It's like, wait, what? I'm like, I'm just, there's so many things that I was like, oh, I'm going to have to fess up that I did this, but none of it's a confession. It's life. You're going to want French fries. You're going to want a glass of wine. You're going to want a cookie. You're going to want a cupcake. That's what they're there to enjoy. Food is meant to be enjoyed and meant to be respected. And it's so worth it to know what it's like when you can treat food differently and actually enjoy cooking, enjoy eating a dessert, and enjoy the taste and the flavor of food without feeling like, I screwed up. I can't tell anybody that I did this. Like, you can't live like that. You're worth it. You just have to trust me. It's amazing what can happen if you put the fears aside and do this.
Good. And and the last thing that you mentioned, and I hope it's okay with you that I kind of say this, is you shared something with me on one of our last calls, that you said that every time that you've been not dieting, that you've been gaining.
Right. Yes.
Anytime you're not on a diet, you're gaining. And this is, so if you want to finish that, what you shared.
Yes. Thank you. I did mean to mention that earlier. In these 4 months, like I said, I haven't stepped on a scale. I don't know what I weigh, but my clothes are the same size, but they're looser. have not had to go shopping for higher clothes size. My clothes feel better. Last week I looked in the mirror and I thought, I look pretty good. Like I like the way I look. So it's like I've been able to maintain even without dieting. Usually the only way to either maintain, the only way I've ever been able to maintain weight is by counting calories, watching what I eat, and depriving myself. And like we've all established, that only works for so long. But I know I haven't gained. And I just feel light years better about myself. So
So you hear that,
maybe
guys?
eventually I will step on the scale just because I'm curious, but
Yeah.
I don't care.
Good. And so, yeah, so you hear that? Like, she has not gained. She's lost, but she hasn't gained, and she's eating ice cream.
Not dieting.
Not dieting. She's having ice cream. She's letting herself, have some chicken wings. That was a great story, too. Having some chicken wings. Having a burger every now, going out to a nice dinner with her husband, like going out to lunch with her friend. Like, she's living her life and getting to eat all these foods that she loves without deprivation, without guilt, and she hasn't gained weight. Like, that's what's possible when you really start eating it mindfully instead of eating it based off your triggers and letting emotion and giving your power to food, giving your power to the triggers. When you take that back, you go, nope, I'm driving this train, my train, right? When you start doing that, freaking game changer. So, so was it all worth it? You glad you did it?
Yeah. Yes, I am so glad.
Good. Well, you're about to, you get to live your life now. And I am so excited to just like keep in touch with you and just see like just what you do and just how amazing your life is going to keep becoming. Because it really is sky's the limit at this point.
And I love the fact that, like, unlike other diet programs where, once you're done, you're done. Like, you do a great job with the Facebook group. Like, I really like kind of commenting on other women's posts and like just kind of supporting each other on there. And you've done graduated, but it's not over. And I really love that about this program. Like, I'm still able to connect with the group, and I'm still able to connect with you and go back to the materials that you put so much work into. And it's not like other programs that are just one and done. And this is really a lifelong thing.
Yeah, well, I told you, I'm in your corner for life, honey. You don't get rid of me that easy. Sorry. All right, well, thank you so much for so many things, for being willing to get on here and share your story. When it comes to this kind of stuff, I know it can be, emotional. It's really personal, these kind of stories. So, I really commend your bravery and your confidence in coming on here and, sharing your story with everybody. And for, giving me the honor of working with you. Like, really sincere thank you. Like, the transformation you went through and seeing you literally blossom into somebody completely different has been it has been my honor, my deepest honor to watch that and to help you along that. So thank you for finding me, for trusting me, to help you on this journey, and for hanging in there even when it, got a little bit hard sometimes, and not letting go of my hand. Like, I really, really commend you for how hard you worked, and it's paying off now. And so thank you for everything. I love you. I freaking adore you. I'm so proud of you. And I cannot wait to see what you do next. It's just going to be amazing. I know it's going to be.
I can't wait to show you.
Well, you got my number. Send me texts. Yeah. All right, honey. Well, I love you so, so much, and congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I think I made it. Thank you so much.
Yay. All right. I'll talk to you later, honey.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.